Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Typical Creative Podcast. I am Ashton, your host, and it's really good to have you here today. Thanks for listening. If you have been enjoying these, definitely don't forget to leave a review, even if you just drop some stars and you don't want to use your little digits to type something out. But if you do, that'd be great too. I'd read them. So anyways, have you ever wondered what goes on in someone's head who seems to think a lot? Or maybe someone who roasts coffee and stands there staring at the beans, just spinning around, cooling. Well, today's conversation is essentially gonna be that. Unlocking the mind, the beautiful and wonderful and interesting mind of my friend Jake. And Jake is one of those guys who has a lot of skills and a lot of talents, and he's also just so incredibly chill. So this conversation should be really delightful for you to just kind of dive in, jump in, and even get some hot takes if you hang on long enough with us. You know, plenty of you have had conversations with me, as well as heard previous podcasts, and you know that sometimes I can be perceived as a bit of a jerk. But today, we will share that load, as Jake and I both have an affinity for hot takes. And so, hot takes that hold water is going to be brought to you by today's episode. We want to talk about pets. We're going to talk about my scaly lizard Gotham and some of his interesting pets, as well as just life. So, creatives, thank you for tuning in. I hope that this sparks some creativity in your own life. As I've heard from many of you after each episode, this conversation is just a place for you to even roll around new ideas in your head. So, without further ado, here is Jake Bennet.
I hate everyone.
You like to make people feel bad.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. No, coffee. Sorry.
Roasting.
Yeah, I forget. Yeah.
Yeah, like I feel like the common understanding of roasting is like you put somebody on a chair and everyone passes a microphone and
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I was. All my buddies are always like, "So do you, like when people like walk up to the roasting bar, do you just like make fun of them?" And I'm like, I wish I could sometimes, but yeah.
You just take pictures of them taking pictures.
Mm-hmm. Like I'm a zoo animal. Yeah. Just like, whoa.
Yeah, yep. I can imagine that's probably kind of annoying well, maybe it's annoying sometimes.
It's pretty weird.
If people like treat you like a zoo animal.
Yeah. They just stand there and I'm like working, like very clearly working.
No
and they're
doubt.
just like staring. It's weird.
Okay, man.
Do you have I'm so down to talk to you about what's happening here if you have anything to say at all. Yeah. And they're just like,
yeah, that's always, I feel like you get in spaces like that or situations like that, it can be really uncomfortable. But like the longer you do it, the more you're like,
yeah,
whatever.
I haven't reached that point yet.
Yeah.
But I mean, can't wait to like
patience, you know?
Yeah.
So you are chill. We'll get to that later, but
yeah, it's definitely the least interesting.
We'll discover that
all three, yeah,
as we go. You know,
yeah, that's true. That's an
icing,
experiential thing.
Yeah, you'll experience it.
Yeah, that's true.
But the roasting, that's not just a job anybody gets to have. Like you can't just be like, I'm gonna go roast coffee.
Yeah,
and find someone to pay you to do it.
Yeah, that's true.
Or even like to have enough money to do it yourself and make money on it. So like, how did that come about? What kind of like? Do you feel like there was anything about that process that you were like surprised by, or did it just sort of like fall into place as you kind of navigated what you wanted to do each day?
Yeah, it was, it certainly was, a surprise, I suppose. The owner of Greenhouse, his name's Kurt. He's amazing. And I had started working there like one day a week because, you know, the band stopped doing stuff completely. And it was like
the old coronavirus.
Yeah. It was my best paying gig. And so I had just bought a house and then COVID hit and I'm like, oh crap. I bought a house on the presumption that I would have X amount of income. So
perfect.
Yes, it was awesome. And
great situation.
So about mid last year, Kurt asked Adam if it would be a big deal if I like came and picked up a shift every week, you know, at Greenhouse because they were short staffed.
Yeah.
And so I've worked there for about a year and a half. And I think it was just
as a barista or
yes, okay. Yes, sorry, yeah,
because the roasting is new.
Yes, I originally came on as just like a barista helping out behind the bar, someone they didn't have to train. Yeah, really, because I'd been doing it for 2 years at Bearded Lady. So I think the opportunity to roast was a combination of so many things. It's interesting when you work for two different people in the same vein,
yeah, are we friends or competitors?
Yeah,
I can't tell.
It was really interesting. And so just different manager styles. And Kurt is very much a manager that I recently had a conversation with him. I was like, it's interesting because the type of manager that you are is I'm going to trust that I hired the right people to do the job, and I'm going to push you off the cliff and you're going to figure it out on your way down, and trust that I hired you and you're going to learn how to fly, know? And so he was like, hey, do you want to come over here? This was probably like 4 or 5 months ago. He's like, hey, I've got some ideas I want to do. I can give you this, full band immunity when the band starts back up, and basically gave me a sales pitch. And so it took a lot of thinking and stuff, but, the idea of roasting and controlling our product in-house was really intriguing to me. And so I ended up saying yes, and we cleaned out the space and ordered the roaster, and it was here 5 days later. And
which that's a miracle in and of itself. Like
absolutely. That was interesting too, because
it's like COVID backed every supply of everything up.
Yes.
And then the one thing you're like, well, let's start something new. And all of a sudden it's like 5 days. You get this awesome
here's
specialty
the thing
machine.
Is we were on the phone with, he gave me a week. He's like, all right, research this week and we're going to order one on Friday. And I was like, okay. And so I was like, what's our budget? What's, all this other stuff, natural gas, propane, electrical. And he was like, gave me all the answers basically. And so I was on the phone with a supplier and I was like, hey, this is kind of the machine that we're looking at.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, okay. Well, those are like a 5-month wait list. We're like, very cool. And she's like, well, I have one of them with the automatic like roasting software built in. It's, X amount more, but someone canceled their order and it's sitting on the warehouse floor right now, ready to ship. So I, kind of had to tell Kurt, this roasting software is really great. I think it's worth it.
Yeah.
Especially because it's 5 months sooner than anything else. And so
you make that extra money back in the 5 months, then you should definitely do it.
Definitely.
So it's a business idea.
Yeah, if you have the capital and
exactly.
So we pulled the trigger and it got here a week later instead of 5 months, which is crazy. So it was one of those things that just really worked out. It was like, it was crazy. Because you're
deluxe.
right. Everyone else, the lady on the phone was like, everyone's just like, when the suppliers ran out, everyone was like, well, we just need to control it ourselves. And, and so she's like, we're 5 months out. I was like, gee whiz. So it was really interesting.
That's like some of that creative, like problem solving stuff where you're like, well, we weren't planning to spend this money, but will we make this back here? Is it worth, do we still love the idea enough to do it? And so you kind of like, you make your pros and cons list and you start deciphering the text.
Definitely.
It's like, what should we do?
Yeah, we roasted for a little bit before we opened the space, just to kind of like, we didn't want people drinking the first roast that I ever, so it was like,
except you.
Yeah, right. Yes.
It's part of the experience.
So it's been fun.
Yeah.
It's been awesome.
Okay. So like along the lines of roasting, what have you learned so far? Cause you're still new to
Definitely.
it.
Yeah.
So what did you not realize you would love, but now you love it? And what thing did you just not expect at all? Maybe it's too new to even have that kind of introspection, but I'm going to ask anyways.
I think I enjoy the like almost solitude of it. Like I can just put my headphones on. I'm at the shop, so it's still a very social environment.
Yeah.
But I can still like be in my own little bubble. I really love that, which, you come into Bearded and we talk. And so when I was working the bar, I really liked the social aspect of the coffee shop world, and so I thought that I wouldn't enjoy the solitary, like just roasting, but I really do. And, if my mom comes in or Chelsea comes in or Natty comes in or something, I can still like kind of like bag beans and still talk and chat and everything. And so it's still, I can get that, but during the day, I just put my head down and, listen to a couple albums or, so it's been a nice mix, I think.
That's nice because you can scratch your like musician itch still.
Definitely.
And sort of that artist that lives like that, like fine arts, like cinema lover. Like you have that sort of thing about you that you really enjoy that stuff. So if I can imagine that as someone who enjoys those things, working like an office 9 to 5 job would be really miserable.
Yeah.
If you couldn't listen to music, if you couldn't like have somebody pop in without it being like kind of inconvenient.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
So that's such a huge perk.
Yeah. And it's really,
it's awesome.
It's really helped me be more like in tune with the creativity pulse, like in Joplin.
Yeah.
Cause then I have time to listen to the Alec episode, and it's like, I have to, you posted about it right when I got it to work. And I was like, perfect. I'm just going to put this on, or Fox Royale puts out a new song. Perfect. I have time to sit because I don't have Spotify Premium. So I don't listen to anything unless it's on my computer.
Nice.
So I just bring my computer, set it up, and then I can listen to stuff on Spotify and everything. Stuff like that has been really nice because then I just have so much more time where I can't be doing anything else really. Yeah. And so I listened to a couple Song Exploder episodes yesterday. We're like breaking down a Mumford song, breaking down a Bleacher song. So yeah, it's stuff like that where I can just still kind of.
Yeah. You can really live into being chill.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. There it is. Everybody. We could we could come back to it. That's the full demonstration of being a roaster and the chill.
Yes.
So I feel like roasting, just from seeing you even doing it, is one of those hurry up and wait kind of jobs where like you probably have these quick turnaround moments. And then a lot of it's just like sitting there just in case something needs to happen.
Staring at a screen.
Staring at something.
Not a phone or whatever, but
like
the roasting
the monitor
profile. Yeah.
But it's like, how do you like that? Like the sort of the hurry up and wait or even some of that space. Cause it's like, does that work well for you as a person? Do you think that works for like other people too? Is like that.
Yeah.
Some people like kind of the slow and steady. Yeah. They know exactly what to do. Other people want thrill and then like crash, thrill and crash. So where does that pacing fit in your experience of like coffee roasting? I
enjoy that. It is very, rhythmic. It's rhythmic. So, like when I first, when the roasters reach charge temperature, it's time to drop the beans. And then when you drop the beans, that's basically just a turn. You're waiting till you get to the turning point, which is about 2 minutes. So it's like, I can't do anything for 2 minutes. So I'm just like sitting there. But then if it reaches turning point too soon, then I need to dial the gas back, so it's like I have to be there engaged, but there's not, hopefully you don't have to do anything. Right. So
ideally
it is very rhythmic like that. And then, when the beans are cracking, when you're reaching first crack, you got to be locked in because it's like, okay, if they're cracked for too long, then, it's going to be roasted literally in not a good way. And if they don't crack long enough, then it's going to be baked. And so there's so many other things that, but then, when you dump and then they're in the cooling bin, they just have to cool. Like you don't have to do anything. Yeah. It's agitating them. It's cooling. So then you're like, okay, back to doing nothing. And
that part looks cool too. Like it is. I think that's my favorite visual really cool part of it is you just see the beans kind of getting, I don't know, aerated or whatever. They're cooling. Yeah. It's just like, got a fan underneath and it's like, yeah. It looks so.
And I've really loved it because we haven't really reached the breaking point of like spring yet.
Yeah.
So it's still like freezing in there when I can get in there in the morning. It's like 63 degrees in the road. So when they come out, they're 450. And so I'm like putting my hands over it like it's a campfire. I'm like,
That like makes me feel nostalgic about like going snowboarding in like Breckenridge or something. And like they have all the like gas and propane fire pits like just out as you walk around the shops and stuff where it's like you're freaking cold, but there's all these like nice, just like really chill places to kind of warm up your hands or whatnot.
I bet that's cool.
Yeah.
I haven't spent extended time in Colorado. So that sounds like a very Colorado Northwestern thing.
Yeah. I think anywhere that's like cold, you probably have that experience of like, relate it back to even if your house was cold and you had a fireplace. It's sort of like that.
Now we're jiving.
There's just an inherent nostalgia to the experience, whether it's nostalgic or not. It just is.
Yeah. Yeah. It's something that it's back to our ancestors, our cavemen ancestors.
Yeah, we just start grunting and crawling around.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So speaking of like grunting and crawling around, this is going to be a really, really hard segue, but I like it. So I'm sticking with it.
No, I don't. That would be perfect. But
yes. You're the first man that's ever been pregnant.
Yes.
I think that's already happened actually. Anyways.
Mr. Mom.
Yeah.
Isn't that a movie?
Who knows?
I think it has Arnold Schwarzenegger in it. I have to look it up.
All right, you look it up, but I have this segue and I really want to stick to it. So
okay.
The big segue is, so speaking of grunting and crawling around, you're in a band.
I am. Yes. Very similar experiences.
You see how good that segue was?
That was great.
Yeah. So no, but the only thing that kind of threads those together is I've seen the band You're In Me Like Bees in Joplin, and it was probably one of like the best shows I've ever been to in Joplin for sure. But even in the area, it was just like a really fun experience. A lot of people were there, and I had no idea that you could play bass the way that you do, that you had that like
I didn't either
capacity to kind of push up there. Yeah. I don't know if you like learned that or if you've always had that, but the thing that I'm really more interested in is the stage presence, because stage presence isn't inherently musical.
Yeah, definitely
it's
not.
It's kind of this other thing. And it's not, I think it's really easy to sort of label stage presence as like the performance thing, or like, it can be, I don't know, it's easy to sort of slap a lot of weird labels that don't really fit, or they're not complete. You know, they're not full.
Yeah.
It's like it needs a lot of descriptors to be like, well, why is stage presence important?
Yeah, no, I agree.
So I kind of wanted to just talk about, like, with your stage presence, is that something you think about? Like, is it something you put effort into? Is it natural for you to sort of just like have a look, to like even have, dare I call it, dance moves or specific like moments where you choose like, hey, you know, at this point in this song, I'm going to look over and just straight up connect with the drummer because it brings something to life in the music.
Yeah.
Or, you know, but there's like there's a different non-musical creative thing happening there with stage presence.
Yeah, I agree.
So I don't know what ideas or thoughts you might have to share on that, but I just thought that might be interesting to kind of hear from you on stage presence.
I think it's interesting because I think performing the song is more entertaining to me than like playing the song. Yeah. I think my favorite artists that I've seen live or, you know, have watched videos of, if I don't have the money to see them, Drake, you know, it's like them performing it is, the song takes on a whole new life. And so, but the best thing about being in Me Like Bees is like, I performed by myself before I was in Me Like Bees. Right. And so it was such a weird, like, dynamic when I remember like the first tour. So I joined the band and they had like a 30 show tour. And I was like, okay, I'm in the band. Like, you know,
you went from hip hop to rock.
Yeah.
Which is,
in like a month, you know,
okay, here we go.
So I think the weirdest feeling was like on that tour being like, oh, this is like camaraderie. Yeah. You know, when you're on stage, you're a collective unit performing. And that was new to me because it was like prior to I was the focal point. I had to do everything. I had to remember every line. I had to get the crowd engaged. So it was like, it was so freeing to go up there and like be okay with the music moving you to like a different place. Nice. And so I don't know what it is, but inherently I don't have to worry about my stage presence. And I'm not saying that as if like it's like the cool thing. It might not be the right answer, but it's like,
is there a right answer though?
I don't know.
I
just don't want that to sound pretentious. Like I don't even have to think about it. It's like music is so powerful that it's like, if you're doing it for the right reasons, I feel like it will take you to those places. Or when I look over and, you know, it's at the time it was Lewis and it's like, oh, I'm going to look over at Lewis at this time because we wrote this part in practice together. Yeah. You know, and so it's like,
and you're still just like, remember when this happened?
Yes.
Like, and you remember this? This feels good.
It's moments like that, or where like Pete, you know, me specifically, it was like, there were times where I didn't know if I could do what Pete and Luke were asking me to do, you know, like in terms of joining the band. And there were, 10-hour days of just playing the same 4 songs over and over with Luke in my basement. And it's like, when you play those moments live, they take a whole new meaning to you. And it's just dude, do you remember when, like, I was almost in tears because I couldn't do this and you needed me to. You know, it was like it was such an interesting thing. So I think when you're playing them live and you're realizing that it's all kind of been worth it.
Yeah.
Performing is just second nature at that point. You know, it's like, how do you feel about this? And then feel that way and it'd be okay. You know, it's so weird. If you're okay with being vulnerable, I guess, in front of a bunch of people, then I think it's cool.
I think that's a huge part of it. And even like some of what I'm hearing from you in that is in being in a band, there's this, the boring word is collaboration, but there's this shared experience that continues to develop. Yeah. It's like flavors and notes and coffee sort of developing because you did a certain thing. It's like, whoa. I know it's getting meta now, but it's like you have this development. Everything sort of has its own time, its own patience, its own process. And eventually it just keeps creating new results. Yeah. And the new results are just as exciting as the process because you actually enjoyed the process. It's like, for instance, if you really want to make a good video and you want to be the person on screen, don't post your first take. Yeah. Because probably you didn't nail it. You know, it's like, but the more comfortable you get through, like there's been plenty of videos that I've edited, whether it's other people talking or myself on screen, where it's just like so frustrating while you're recording. It's so frustrating, but it's like the process is so important. Yeah. And in that collaborative shared experience band world, definitely. I was gonna say you probably had similar experiences with Lewis. It's like same drummer, same instrument. You know, it was like both bass players playing with the same drummer. Yeah, but it's like either way, there's just like so much friendship that comes out of it, and it's like who knows if other people even see those moments, but they enjoy that you're enjoying it. Definitely, because it's contagious. It's like, and it seems something intangible that's just like. No, I believe it's like the authentic value. It's sincere. Yeah, it's sincere. If, you know, and I don't know, and when Luke's talking about, you know, like one of our favorite songs is like All Alone. And, you know, when he's like, I can't talk to myself because I take my pills, you know? Yeah. And it's just like when Luke's singing that and he seems sincere, it feels okay if you also feel that way. Yeah. You know, it's like, oh, okay, this is a communal thing now. Yeah. This guy in this band is okay with singing this in front of people. I'm okay too. You know, it's like it's moments like that. It's like it lifts you up. Like he had this experience where he started low, where you're feeling when you hear it, and then he ran it through this process of songwriting, sharing it with the band, kind of. Yeah, really, just like permeating the flavor that it developed into. Yeah, and then it's this sort of like higher version of that, or a more processed, more mature version of that when you share it, then anyone who hasn't gone through the process yet gets to actually reap some of the reward without the process. To go, oh, that's what it's like to go through this. I think I could get counseling. I think I could get on medicine. I think I could do these other, you know, whatever in that specific and we're output. Like we're all like Christians, you know, and so it's like we've just like always talked about, if someone can just grab onto like a nugget of truth, you know, through whether it be the lyrics or the performance or a chat afterwards or something. So that's exactly, that's like the band's goal in like a nutshell, you know? So like an internal mantra sort of type of driving force thing, which is really, that's a huge, Wait, did I just say dragon force? No, driving force. That's one of the dragon forces of Me Like Bees. Me Like Bees is really similar to we're a Dragon Force cover band, actually. Yeah, it's like Dragon Force cover band, and they only play when it's like 80 degrees or hotter. Definitely. Because otherwise their amps don't go to 11. They don't. They just stick at 10 and they're like frozen there. Yeah. It's like, why not go to 11? Gots to. You know, actually, recently I saw an amp that went to 12. And I was like, that's just like 11's cool. 12's try hard. Definitely. Like you just 11's a sweet spot. 11's great. Yeah. For anyone who hasn't seen Spinal Tap. So we'll talk about Stranger Things now because 11's great. So Stranger Things, and then we'll slowly segue to how you kind of had a Steve vibe with your stage presence, and we'll just keep circling this track. Like it's like runners who like to run on a 400 meter
real life track. Yeah.
It's like I think I've done this before.
I was here just like a second ago, I think.
But it feels good still.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep going.
For some reason.
Okay. Stupid running story I have for you. 8th grade track districts.
You did track?
I did track.
Whoa.
Yeah. I was really good actually back when I was into that stuff.
I believe it.
But
Colorado, lower oxygen, you could just,
I mean, it's like
it's the opposite, right?
It's the same problem though.
Yeah.
It's only good if you're like from Colorado and you go somewhere else.
Right. But, so you weren't, yeah.
Anyway, I get the point you're making though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to make, I guess, better way to put it.
So my friend can't run the mile because he rolled his ankle doing something stupid in the sideline or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So like, hey, Ashton, why don't you run it? I'm like, all right, whatever. So get on the track. This is districts. Like there's like a lot of people here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. So I, jump on, get in the blocks, whatever. I'm already like super tired. So I take some ibuprofen before I run because I was like kind of feeling sore or whatever. And I was like, I don't know. Do I need this? Whatever. I just took it because kids take pills sometimes.
Definitely.
And so I'm running. And I'm like doing really good. Like I'm in second place the whole time. And I'm going to pass first place. I'm like, I'm going to do this. And so I'm coming around that last little stretch and I just take off and I pass the guy in first and he's looking at me like, what are you doing? And I hit what I thought was the finish line, but it was only lap 3 of 4.
Oh,
and so I kind of slow down and I'm like gassed from just sprinting.
Of course.
And so then, he just keeps running past me and speeds up because he's on his last lap now.
Whoa.
And I'm like, no. And everyone's like, keep going, yelling at me. And so I'm like, well, let's go. So I finished it. Ended up running a 5:15 mile, which is
pretty
really
good
fast
for not someone that doesn't run the mile.
Because the dude that won got a 4:46.
Dang.
He had a personal trainer, rich kid,
Yeah. Oh, boy.
And, but anyway, immediately after I just threw up everywhere. It's like, all right.
That's insane.
I think that's, I'll stop while I'm at the top.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that has really nothing to do with anything, but
that's insane.
It's kind of a fun little story of
did track for a little bit
spewing
in 8th grade as well.
Did you?
Yeah. And then I was like, oh, this is literally all it is. It's just running. I'm good. Thank you though.
Oh, so this is like the conditioning for other sports?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah. I did like triple jump, long jump, stuff like that. So it was less running and more about like
cool stuff,
technique and speed.
Yeah.
So then every once in a while I'd run the mile.
When someone got hurt, they'd throw you out there. Yeah.
Like, wow, I bet everybody was like, that kid is so dumb.
That's so great. I don't know if I would have kept running.
Well, everyone's yelling at me.
I know, but I don't think I would have done it. I would have been like, nah.
I'm like, I already
come out here and run it.
I already filled in for somebody, but I'm like, at that point, I put so much. I already did most of the work.
I guess that's true. Yeah.
And I was really like kind of like annoyed that kid just like passed me again after I just put all that effort into passing him. So then it was just like way too competitive after that. Yeah. And I still lost to him. So whatever.
Rich kid, 446 or something.
Yeah, 446. Nice memory.
Gosh.
Yeah. So in the world of entrepreneurism, which I think you have dabbled in quite a bit.
Okay.
Because I think we've known each other like 10 years or more now. Is that right? 2010?
It's pretty close. Yeah. Yeah.
Did you come to Ozark 2010 fall? Mm-hmm. So yeah, we've known each other.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
I did.
So we've known each other for like 11 years.
That's wild.
Which is crazy.
That is crazy.
But all that to say, I've seen you do lots of things where you put a lot of effort into something more than what it seems like other people are willing to put into it and have it pay dividends for you or have it be more meaningful to you. Mm-hmm. And so whether that was music or even you worked at Best Buy and I remember you just like hustled and saved a bunch of money.
Definitely.
And it was like the rest of us were broke going to donate plasma and eat Taco Bell. And you're like, have a good job, working hard.
Yeah.
Doing what you can. But it's like, so where does that come from? That like, I think that does require some creativity.
Yeah.
And even just some like confidence or even self-awareness to kind of drive that way.
Yeah.
Like, where does that come from for you? Does something inspire you? Do you just feel like generally driven? Like, what is that?
Yeah. I think it's, most of that is going to be it's going to be from my dad, who is like a actual business guy. Like he's
a biz whiz.
Yeah. So he was like the president of Eagle Pitcher, which is like a battery company here in town. And now he works in Tampa doing similar stuff. So he's kind of, and he started as an engineer, you know, so it's just like he worked his way up, you know, and I don't know. And he always kind of instilled like a work really hard attitude, I guess, in me and my brother. So that's definitely where the business, like, you know, hustle, like make sure that your family's taken care of idea is from. I remember I was talking to Natty about this, and it's like, man, it's crazy how different I don't mean this in like I'm old now, but it's like, it's crazy how different our generation is. Like I was talking to my dad when we were at a Royals game one time. We were passing the stadium on the highway, and he's like, yeah, this is the apartment I used to live in right here, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, that's crazy. Like, what did you want to do when you got out of college, you know? Yeah. And he's like, what do you mean? And I was like, what did you want to do? And he's like, well, we didn't think like that. We didn't think what we want to do. I just got a job. And
what was the next step? Like there was a path.
Yeah, exactly.
It was paved.
And he's like, I got a job at Eagle Pitcher, and then I became the president 27 years later or something, you know? And it's like, and now I have a family, and this is what I do now, you know? And it's just like, it was so crazy to hear that he's like, we didn't have a chance to worry about all the things that you guys have a chance to worry about. And part of that is because he works so hard, and, you know, he wants me to be able to do like especially when I was, you know, in college and stuff, it's like putting out music and playing shows. And, you know, he's like, I want you to be able to do that. And the reason I worked so hard for 20 years is so you could, you know? And so I wouldn't have to worry about like, well, what do I do now? I have to do something, you know? Yeah. And so I think a lot of it is from that, because I see that, and it's crazy to have like people like love you so much before you were even born.
Yeah.
Like him and my mom started building the foundation for like the success of my life before I was even born, which is just like so crazy. And so I was talking to Natty about it, and it's like, what could we be doing, you know, for our kids to where they, you know, even just have like a shred of what we've been given, you know? And so just kind of a attitude, like of gratitude, I guess, for like life, I guess, in general. And then the creativity side of all that just like comes from my mom. She's a very creative person. So she likes to paint, and she was like super good at it. And so, I think that's where it's an interesting blend, because most of the time business and like creative stuff don't mix. Like if you're making a record, you're like, I don't think about how much it costs, and I don't think about how much to market it, and I don't think about any of this, because I just want to make it good, you know? And it's like, well, someone has to. It doesn't have to be you.
It's true.
So it's an interesting blend. Yeah.
And one of the things that I frequently push into when I hear that sort of mindset, I guess, of like, well, you know, this person's creative and this person handled the details, is that actually they both offered creativity differently. And so while fine arts creativity is easy to sort of slap the sticker on of, oh, that's creative.
Right. A typical creative.
Yeah, that's typically creative, but the atypical creative is someone who brings in the logistics. Maybe they think about budgeting, maybe they think about marketing, and some of those other types of things that are less inspiring,
grabby or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. They're less like, they less talk to the soul, and they more talk to like the tangibility of life.
Yeah.
Where it's like, hey, for your art to reach more people and have the impact you want, we need to do all these boring things.
Yeah.
Or all these rote or routine type of things.
Yeah. I just learned what rote means yesterday.
Oh.
Yeah.
You didn't think it's like not past tense. It's like, I'm just kidding.
I was like,
I'm thinking rote as in like written.
Right.
But rote as in like a route that's stuck. Or it's like you're in a routine.
Limerick. Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah. Words. Also, the English language, anytime you hear a word, you're like, that's probably this. It's like, maybe not.
It could be,
Who
but
knows?
not. But no, it's not.
It could be another name for like a hot dog.
It could be.
It's
Yes.
like, whatever. Thanks, English.
Yep.
You get the award
Synonyms,
of most
homonyms.
ridiculous language.
Yeah.
So this podcast is brought to you by the English language.
Thank you, English.
Which is why it's made no sense.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
But
yeah, I think that's interesting. They're both solving problems creatively.
Yeah.
But definitely in different ways. I mean, that's obvious, but it's like for different reasons, I suppose, right? I don't know.
Well, I just think it's so, I think it robs people who are not fine arts people to say that they're not creative. I think it robs them of the fullness of life for them to sort of like remove creativity from their own identity. Because as created people, just like a child would imitate their parent because they love them and respect them and want to be like them. If we've been created by a creator, for us to create is that same sort of adoration. And so I look at it as like, I feel like there's some people who they get it and they push into that fine arts thing. And you don't have to be the best painter. You don't have to be the best bass player or whatever. It's like, there's a different quantifier of what's good in that, because you just get it. There's like a creativity to it. But then the people who are more on the other side where they removed that creative label, I feel like for them to really be able to accept, and I would even put myself in this category, I think I've kind of been an imposter is the way I feel about it towards most of the fine art stuff. It's like, oh, I want to play music, so I'm going to learn how to do that. Like Alec and I talked about a couple episodes ago was sort of that same concept, because he resonates with that really well, as especially now as a financial guy, but he still does the music thing.
Right.
So, but it's like we see the music, we figured out that there was a cheap version of the Nashville number system where it's like, oh, now I understand that these numbers mean this sound and this mood. Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
And so we figured out how to kind of do some of that stuff. But anyway, that whole concept of just installing the label of creativity back onto people who have sort of dismissed it or covered it up, I think just allows people to realize more about themselves that they might have been asleep to, or they might have actually hidden away because they were afraid of it.
Yeah.
So like your dad, he's probably wonderfully creative in ways that he just thinks are normal. Yeah. But they're not. They're special to him.
And they're so second nature that it's just, So. Or even like workflow stuff, it's like if he figured out how to answer these emails while he was on the phone with someone else, it's just like kind of making the best of his workflow. Right. That's a creative way to get those things done. Yeah. And that's more than, I think a lot of people go, no, that's just problem solving. Like, well, yeah, problem solving is a type of creativity, but there's sometimes you go to that upper echelon of problem solving and sort of that like efficiency thing. And you've reached a different, like, don't label that as just like efficiency. Yeah. That's creativity. Yeah. But it's become like, it's just super legit, like it's high corporate quality, matured creativity in like maybe a corporate way. Yeah. One last little bit I want to chat with you about, which you're going to love this. I'm ready. You just met my lizard Gotham. I did. And she's a girl, despite her very manly name. Not very effeminate. Yeah. She has a manly name, and she's just like a beige, peely lizard. Yes. Which is not necessarily the most like effeminate thing. You're right. But anyway, we both have weird pets. And so when people like come over and there's not a dog like licking their shoes, but they see a rabbit instead, how do you feel about that? Like, do you love having an interesting pet? I do. The thing that I hate is you kind of mentioned it, which is like, I'm super like jiving with, rabbits are also prey animals. Oh yeah. So people think that, it's just like a cat. And I'm like, it's actually the complete opposite because Pax and Annie will get scared of everything. Yep. Like, cause they think everything's going to kill them. Yeah. Like they don't even like getting picked up because it's probably a bird that's going to carry them off and eat them. It's just like, so I love I love like rabbits are so, I don't know how deep you want to get, but they're so like amazing because you have to like teach them that you're a friend. And so it was literally, I got Pax when he was tiny. He was like, he would sit in the palm of my hand, you know, and he didn't know where he was. I know I got him from Kansas City. And so he would just like kind of like shuffle, hop around because he was so tiny, you know?
Yeah.
But it was just like day after day of just like sitting on the floor and just being with him and just developing this trust.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very much on their own terms. And so I think rabbits are so beneficial as a person, like, because they teach you like patience and what it means to like have a pet unselfishly. Like, so you can't pick up and cuddle your rabbit all the time. Does that mean you still want it? Like, well, you're still giving it a home and a great life. Like when otherwise people think that they're kind of just like, oh, just leave him outside in a hutch all day. It's like, no, that's terrible. Like, so yeah, I love it. I think, and I hate dogs. So it's like the most interesting thing in the world that I walked in and there was like a lizard out there. I was like, this is my favorite thing ever. Like, so yeah,
so
I think.
Do you know if rabbits have, the part of their brain that like allows them to have affection?
They do.
They do have that like emotional center.
Mm-hmm.
So lizards don't.
Interesting.
So like Gotham only knows, like, I think she knows, like she like remembers who we are because we like play with her and give her food and stuff. She's like, that hand gives me dandelions. And I like that. Yeah. But it's like
pragmatic, very pragmatic.
Just like, I like it because of benefit only. There's no like, I love you.
Yeah.
And so I think that's one of the weird things about a lizard is like, she doesn't care about us at all. Yeah. But I don't care. Like I still like her. I think she's great.
I think that's so, that's so huge because people that are like, you know, that like love dogs or like hate cats.
I do love dogs and cats though. I'm like an animal person.
Oh, I love cats, but I hate dogs.
But
the people that love dogs, they love dogs because dogs love them. And that is psychopathic. Right? Because the second their dog might not care about them, they're like, but, you know, and so it's like that. I love that about lizards. The dog
went to somebody else first.
Yeah, I love that about lizards because it's like you're willing to. This is an unselfish thing for you. It's like, if we died, you know, Gotham, she probably wouldn't care.
No,
and it's like, but you still care for it.
She would literally not care.
And how is that not an image of like Christ-like love?
Sure,
you know, and it's like I love it. I love that my cat doesn't care about me at all.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to make the choice every day to care for her, no matter what. You know, it's just so cool. Yeah. But dog people, they're so lame. They're like, he loves me. See, I love him because he loves me. And it's like, okay, well, what if he didn't? You know, I just, but so I love that. I love that. It's so interesting when pets can teach you something, you know? Which is crazy.
I knew that at some point in this conversation, we would get a hot take from you.
That's it. That's absolutely
not that you're
it.
like a hot take artist, but I also frequently dabble in the hot takes.
And you've known me long enough to know. If you talk long enough, you'll get one.
Like, we're going to get one of these.
That's it.
So there it is. If you're offended, hit me up on Instagram. Come at me.
He will apologize on my behalf.
I won't apologize.
Okay, good.
I'll just say, sorry, you're offended.
Yep.
Like,
he doesn't like dogs. I don't know what you want me to do.
So if you want that message, I'll send it to you. Just send me a DM.
Forward it
on Instagram and I'll just copy and paste. Sorry, you're offended. Get over it. There it is.
Yeah, it was.
Speaking of the old Instagram, is that your social media of choice currently?
Yeah.
Do you have one?
I do.
Because I know sometimes you phase in and out of social media and caring at all about it.
Yeah, I do have one.
So if people wanted to follow stuff
why
that you
on
do,
earth would they ever want to do that after this discussion?
Okay, but if they want to, they want to see coffee roasting, they want to follow Me Like Bees, they want to see your podcast, like they want to see all these different things. Like, where can people follow those things? You can, even if it's not like, you know, your own thing. Like, where can people find out more about what you do and where you're posting things about stuff?
My Instagram is Jake Bennet 13. And then everything else I'm affiliated with is like in my bio. So like I also have a podcast. The coffee shop that I roast for is in there. The band is in there. My Spotify link's in there.
Yeah.
So yeah, a bunch of stuff. I think that's a good, yes, it's the central hub.
There you go.
Yeah.
So say it again. Jake
Bennet. 13.
13.
13.
I'm the only one that can see your hand.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
Fine. Yeah.
13. 13. So, yeah, this big thing I've been lately on is like make Instagram casual because it's like everyone cares about their grid and everyone cares. It's like, guys, I got news for you. The only person that cares is you. Like, I don't care if I go to your profile and it looks like if it's pleasing to me.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I follow you.
Yeah.
I care about what you're doing, you know? So that's basically what you're going to see on there. You're going to see
business, I get having brand.
Oh yeah, for
if
sure.
You're a human,
definitely. Yeah.
Stop worrying about your brand.
Yeah.
Be a human.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, so you'll probably see like my rabbits, I play Call of Duty. I roast coffee. I have a fiance. I'm working on like a house. So it's like, you'll see a bunch of stuff. So
yeah. Which congratulations, by the way. Being engaged.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
It's an achievement, I suppose.
It's a level of commitment that's it's worth celebrating.
Yes.
That's what I mean by that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm excited. So we're trying to figure out scheduling because the band already has some stuff, you know, like
you're not going to have the band like play at the wedding.
No. We hate playing weddings. I would probably hate my wedding. I hate playing my wedding too. Unless I paid myself.
What?
Now that's interesting. What a life hack.
Yeah. Is it though?
Yeah, I actually got paid $1,000 to play my wedding. So it was really cool. That would be so funny. That would be hilarious.
It's like the best paying gig you've ever had.
Yeah.
You just pay all of your own money to yourself.
That's mad funny.
The only problem is you'd have to pay taxes on that. So you'd actually just be losing money
to the government.
to yourself.
Yeah.
But you could write all of it off because it's your own expense.
True. Yeah. I think I'm going to do this. I think we're playing the wedding. Yeah.
Yeah. If the government listens to this podcast to find out this sketchy thing that we're doing right now.
Thank you.
It was.
Thank you for listening.
It was. Thanks for being a part of this.
Yeah.
Also, the podcast that you have is called.
Even better. This podcast is not for you.
Yes. This podcast is not for you.
Yes.
Which I'm going to be joining you guys here pretty soon.
We're recording next week. If you want to hear
our sultry voices again.
No, if you want to hear like Ashton's heart behind this podcast and what he does for the Toad, or which I guess if you don't know what that is, it's like a magazine. So
tune in.
Yeah.
For Toad news.
Yes. I was gonna say it's a magazine. It's not just like he also doesn't have a pet toad.
Yeah.
So
screw toads.
We're going to get into like why you started this and you know, your heart behind a lot of it. So there's a little teaser. If you want to hear that, check out This Podcast Is Not For You, and maybe it is for you.
And maybe it's not, but you'll listen to it anyways, and therefore it kind of is.
Yes. Catch 22.
Wow. So if you're still hanging onto the reins after that random but wonderful conversation, you made it. It's okay. You can release your grip. You can turn your palms up and let them breathe a little bit, because that was quite the wrestle. If you want to connect with Jake Bennet 13 on Instagram, you can do it exactly there at Jake Bennet 13, where you'll find Instagram staying extra casual. And just one more time for good measure, at Jake Bennet 13. You know, people like Jake really inspire me, and I hope that our conversation was inspiring to you in some way, whether it's expressing yourself through music, expressing yourself through your own style or whatever, or even trying new adventures and trying to get an opportunity that just doesn't seem possible. Whatever it is, creatives, you have what it takes. You got to just go for it. Sometimes you're going to fail. Sometimes you're going to succeed. But no matter what you do, you're going to learn, which will make you better. And better means more possibilities. And so creativity cannot be in a box any longer. Don't forget, you are the only you that can come to this world. And so bring what you bring, give what you can, be the best you. And as always, creatives, you know I gotta say it. Stay creative. See you next week.